Story time. So let me take you back about 4 years ago, just a bit over 4 years, guys. I bought a short wheelbase Y60 Nissan Patrol, so GQ Nissan Patrol. I've always wanted to do a full build on one of these vehicles, and that's exactly what I did. I bought this shorty and I did a rebuild on the thing from the ground up. So from the diffs to the roof, I did a full restoration on this beast. I ended up putting a V8 in the engine bay as the heart of the vehicle, and I bravely bolted the factory Nissan 5-speed manual behind that V8 engine using all Mark's 4-wheel drive adapters. Now, that was a massive build, guys. There wasn't much on that vehicle that I didn't touch by the time I'd finished the build. And a big factor for this vehicle was the paintwork. The bodywork was just completely drab, guys. It needed a lot of work to get it back up to a spot where it had no dents in the panels, no rust in the panels, and all the panels matched in color, because none of that was what was happening when I bought it. So after doing a lot of research and, to be honest with you, falling in love with what the guys in the States were doing with their Jeeps and things, where they were doing this textured, tough looking apocalypse style finish of paint. And I'm like, what is that stuff? Finally figuring out that it was either Line-X or Raptor Liner. So I basically did some research into it and went, okay, this is Raptor Liner, this is what it offers, this is how I get it, and I bought myself a kit. So I stripped back the whole bodywork from top to bottom, pulled everything back, pulled the rust out of the roof gutters, pulled the rust out of the quarter panels, bogged up what I needed to, sanded it all back to a finish where I needed to for Raptor. And this was my first chance at an application, guys. This was my first opportunity to give it a go. Extremely exciting stuff. And a little bit nerve-wracking at the same time, because you're painting a whole car. And to be honest with you, I'm not a painter. I can paint 2-pack, I can do your basic jobs, but I don't do the fine detail paint finishes that you see on show cars. So a little bit nerve-wracking in that sense, because you don't know how it's going to turn out. But the Raptor Liner, guys, is super versatile stuff. Sure, you need to have some things down pat, and sure, I made some mistakes in the start and had to touch up a few things, but all in all, the stuff is so bloody versatile, and it hid so many imperfections in that bodywork you would not believe. So long story short, guys, I completely restored the short wheelbase Patrol, and this is how it turned out. So as you can see there, guys, a couple of photos of how it turned out. Complete restoration from the ground up, as I said, and that thing was honestly the apple of my eye. Now, unfortunately, I put a lot more time into building the shorty than I actually got to use the thing. I decided that I'm gonna have to sell this thing to put a deposit down on a house. So, you know, doing the adult thing, I know what you're thinking, and I regret it too. But before I sold it, I did manage to get it out in the tracks and use the thing and put that paintwork and everything I'd done to the test. Now, the paintwork is obviously what I want to talk about today, the main thing we're focusing on, and I was surprised. So instead of trees pinstriping the car was pinstriping the trees. It was just pushing everything away from it. Nothing could hurt it. It was tough as bloody nails. Now, one thing that happened that completely set in stone how much I love this product was when I put it into a rut one time. It had a big mud wall on one side, and in that mud wall it had a big stick poking out of it. Actually, this wasn't a stick, this was a tree. It was huge, big stump. The rear of the shorty caught the ruts and dropped in, and the panel went straight into this tree that was sticking out the side of the wall. And that was the quarter panel. And I felt this rock the car, guys. It was loud and it was a massive hit, and I knew I'd done some damage. So got home, got the dollies out of the shed with the hammer, went from the inside through the body skin. You know, there's holes in the side of the Patrols, really accessible to, you know, hammer out any dents in the inside. It's really good like that with the Patrols. Got in there, I was dollying out, and it was a pretty big dent, guys. This thing was a big hit. And I expected, once I had done that, pulled the dent out, to go back out the outside of the vehicle, and the Raptor chipped and cracked as you'd expect. It shouldn't hold. But to my amazement, I went round the outside of the vehicle after I'd finished dollying this dent out, had a close look at the Raptor, and there was not a single sign of it pulling away from the body. It had actually moved back with the panel. Because it's that 2K polyurethane coating, it was flexible enough to move back with the panel and look like nothing had happened. There was a mark left on the panel though, where the tree had gone into it. So what I did was I went into the kitchen, I got one of those sponges that have the green backs on them. They're like a rough surface to get hard things off dishes and stuff like that. I used that on the body with the truck wash that I'd always use to wash the thing. Now that's what you use for Raptor Liner. You use a bit of truck wash and a gurney and the thing will come up like new every time, even if it's been muddy as hell. So I got that out and I'm there scrubbing away at this panel and it started coming away, this mark started coming away off the panel. It wasn't actually the paint that had been taken away or marked or damaged. It was just bits of wood that was stuck in the abrasive surface from this tree. Now granted, it didn't come out 100%. Some of that did stay in there and it was a little bit marked. But to my amazement, it came up pretty much like new. I washed the whole car down so all the panels looked the same and you could hardly tell there was ever a problem there. So this is what's set in stone for me, the fact why I love Raptor Liner so bloody much, guys, and why I continue to use the product on a bunch of different surfaces to this day. Now, what I'm going to do is share with you a little bit on how to paint a surface in Raptor Liner. But you're going to have to wait for that video, guys, because it is in part 2 of this video that I'm doing. So this is part 1 where I ran you guys through the reason why I like Raptor Liner so much and the first time that I used it and applicated it onto my short wheelbase project that I did and talking through some ins and outs of it and stuff like that. But in part 2, I'm going to be running through in more detail a vehicle that I painted recently with Raptor Liner. And I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks and ins and outs on how to do it yourself to your own vehicle or maybe your own bar work or really any surface that you guys want to paint. So stay tuned for that video, guys. It isn't a long wait. I'm actually going to be dropping this video tomorrow. So it's not a long wait for that one, guys. Stay tuned. It will be dropping on YouTube tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by and checking this one out, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next video.
Turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. Your memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. We put the bars in the brakes. I'm talking one chance at best, yes. Painting pictures for the culture, keep the brushes fresh. Flip the cover, work the drummer, passion never rests. Freedom is our teacher under pressure now.